Welcome to Football Stories Live. I'm Al Thompson in the studio here in Seacane, Pennsylvania, beautiful Seacane, Pennsylvania, the Al Zaffiri studio,
Yeah.
Edge of Philly. We're part of Edge of Philly now. Very proud to be that. I saw the new fans last week when you aired it on Thursday. We air on Thursdays at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, 5 to 7. Yeah, right
Yeah.
now. That's what's going on right now. It could change. It could get better.
Yes, and love to see all the new people seeing the show. Last week that was fantastic. We want to give a quick shout out. Matt Santoleri is going to be here in a minute. He's in our production room coming up with tasty tidbits.
Tasty tidbits.
Tidbits. We're not saying it's recorded tasty tidbits, but everything that Matt Santoleri does is tasty. And not really
that
tidbits.
Will be on Matt.
So anyway, he's here.
Everything he did
and
was tasty.
We've been stalling here for you to get here. And so our sponsors I want to give a quick shout out to, and that's Colonial Marble and Granite. Fantastic people up throughout the Delaware Valley. Their main office is in the Valley Forge area. Willow Grove, Jaguar, and Land Rover. Fantastic car dealer. And we also have Premier Orthopedics in Vineland, New Jersey. Home Smart Kitchens and Bath. They are located at Aston, but they'll sell you a kitchen if you're in Bismarck, North Dakota.
There you go.
I would think. Smart Carpet.
Cold kitchen.
Same thing. Smart Carpet and Flooring. Manasquan, but they service the entire Delaware Valley. And we have a lot to talk about. Tonight is what I consider the Paul Ferrio and Sal Tribute Day. Is this NFL schedule's coming out?
Mm-hmm. And
if you're in prison and you have know somebody that's in prison that's a football fan, if you're really his friend or her friend, you'll bring the schedule with you, correct?
You have to. What else are you gonna talk about?
Yeah.
I'm just like I again
changing the rats around the cell, So
I again give the NFL a lot of credit for being able to
market something that dumb.
And how I'll be honest with you, I'm like, it's a little annoying, like how so and so heard that the Eagles are playing the Chiefs this week at this time. Mm-hmm. Ooh, it might be now they started also noting, like, somebody put out a thing. It could cost football fans almost $1,000 to watch NFL football this season. If you go by because now it's on Netflix. Christmas Day, all Christmas Day football games are on Netflix.
But if the Eagles were playing on Christmas Day, we don't know for sure that you have a schedule that's been.
We have a leaked schedule. I'll pull that up.
Unless you want to watch the preview, Ranger Suarez is on the mound tonight. Is he the best pitcher in baseball right now?
Right now, I mean, he's literally doing stuff as far as like his whip right now is like the lowest that like any pitcher has had at this point in time in a season since like 1908. You know what I mean? Like it's like you're doing stuff like it's like when Ohtani was doing stuff. And you're like, last guy to do this was Babe Ruth. You're like, it's pretty damn good then, right? Like that doesn't really get brought up too often.
Good company.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty insane. So yeah, I mean he's as much of a sure thing in baseball right now when he takes the mound. Obviously, even in games where he doesn't have like his absolute shutdown stuff. Go back to the Giants game when he gave up 3 runs. What did the Phillies offense do? Just put up 14. Yeah. So it's like it just feels like no matter what happens, it's like the reverse Cole Hamels effect. It's like when Rangers on the mound, the rest of the team is like, all right, we're going to come out and we're going to give him run support. We're going to do our thing, or Rangers going to take it over. And so, I
mean, the Phillies starting pitching alone has been just
historic.
I mean, even Zach Wheeler's not great start. Yeah. He didn't have a great one. He went 4 innings last start. He only let up 3 earned runs. The whole deal. Like
it's like, oh my god, so bad, right? It just feels that way. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for the better part of a month and a half now, Ranger Suarez has been the hottest pitcher and save for a start or two. Zach Wheeler has held up his end of the bargain. Nola, a little bit more hit or miss. Then you get that version of him yesterday, and you're like, that's the reason why Aaron Nola, is still here in Philadelphia and got the contract and everything else. Is he has that in him too. So, again, the pitching staff for the Phillies, I mean, a lot of people have made kind of bones about their schedule, whatever like that. You play the people who are in front of you, and the Phillies have been able to take advantage of that. And like we say all the time, what do good teams do? They demoralize opponents. They take not just advantage of playing weaker opponents, but they make sure that it's a sure thing, shut the door down on them. And even when they get their back pushed around a little bit, like they did in the game before last night, when they went to extra innings, they still were able to pull it out. So you have to love
missing
it.
guys from the lineup too.
Yeah, exactly.
22 and 5 in the last 27 games. Still going strong now into mid-May.
And the sobering part of it is Atlanta has the exact same loss total as the Phillies.
They've only played a lot less games than us. That's
4 less games. Yeah. So, but we said this in the past. It was the same way last week because both these teams refuse to lose, and the Phillies have 4 games. Atlanta has 4 games in hand.
Yeah.
But the Phillies, those 4 games are all wins. So if you had to have it that way,
win
least
percentage.
Make sure they're all wins. So Ranger Suarez had just some crazy numbers, like you were saying. 1.50 ERA is absurd, but they're all going to have back. I want to ask Doctor.
It's historical right now. To be honest with you, what he's doing at this point in the game. I know it's mid-May, and I know a lot of people who watch this, who I talk to, go, "Pump your brakes, Homer." I'm hearing that right now, but halfway through May, listen. I go by historics. Like April, they're usually like a 500 club, right? Maybe a little below, maybe a little above, but not 500, right? May is historically a terrible season, a terrible month for them. Over the last 20 years, it's not just like last couple of years. They are historically usually a bad team in May, and if historical numbers continue, and they have that good June that they have, but I don't know if June could be looking any good as it has April and May has looked so far.
Yeah.
Because it's all looked good.
It's a high standard to hold on to,
It's a high
right?
standard. Like, it's going to look like, oh, it's not good. It's the same as April and May, which is a good problem to have.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody asks one thing, for Phillies baseball, come out strong.
Yeah.
Don't limp into June, beat 6-7 games under 500, and need all of June to get yourself.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about it, for all the good Junes they had in the last couple months or couple of years, coming out of June, they weren't that far above 500. They just had they dug themselves such a hole that June helped them dig themselves out of the hole, and they were above 500, and they were feeling a little better about themselves. But
one thing I want to ask McMillan about tonight, Dr. McMillan, is that you're JT Realmuto, you are Bryce Harper, you are Kyle Schwarber, you are alpha males. I mean, you are super alpha males, right? And you're watching this, and all the scrubs are killing it, right? And they're winning all these games. You're climbing the walls, right? And Schwarber missed a couple games because of a bad back. Is he rushing back? Because when he came back and they pinch hit him, he was shaking his head. He had that shaking his head. Man, my back hurts. Shaking his head.
I don't know.
He struck out brutally in that game, if you remember.
I think this was not the guy you put in that position.
Well, whatever. But the who was it? Bryce Harper is coming back to he had a migraine, but he got clobbered the night before in the head.
What a weird situation that was.
And then JT Realmuto again comes back from a sore right knee. Are they chomping at the bits in Thompson's face? I'm fine. Put me back in.
I mean, all 3 of the players you just named are guys who you would expect to want to play baseball, right?
Of course,
they're all guys
but I'm
who want to be out there. So I could say they definitely could put themselves in that spot, but it feels like, them, again, giving Harper the night off, but saying he was available to pinch hit. That means that he could have played. You know what I mean? He could have played.
And he's also saying that to
JT Realmuto obviously didn't play, but in between innings, he went out there and he was catching before the thing started. So it wasn't like he wasn't available or athletic enough. So it feels like it could be the opposite. It feels like it could be the Phillies are taking a more cautious approach at telling those guys, hey, you don't need you to rush. Get ready, because we need you guys for when the getting gets real.
Maybe even on top of it, they're using it as an opportunity. Okay, get some rest.
Yeah,
we're winning, guys. I'm putting out Garrett Stubbs and Sosa.
He looks like such a little kid back there.
So
funny. And JT Realmuto isn't that big of a guy anyway. When you compare him to some of the other catchers, who is it that has this really 300-pound guy? Looks like he's never trained a day in his life. Is it with? It's not Kirk, is it? Who's the other catcher? But anyways. JT Realmuto's not a big guy, and then you put Stubbs out there, and he's like, wow, is low flying hawk going to take him away? And so But anyway, no, they've been playing fantastic baseball, and but that's my only thought in it. Is that this is sometimes managing a lot of talent is harder than managing a team that doesn't have such great talent, because he's got to massage these egos and maybe make a hard decision that they're going to be pretty ticked off about. Like, I can't play you tonight because I'm really concerned about you got hit in the head, and you have this wicked migraine, you can't play, and now you want to,
Well,
all of a sudden everything's okay, I'm fine.
This isn't the first migraine he almost didn't play with.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm saying these are decisions. Sometimes it's harder, right?
Yes.
So they are, like I said, I want to talk to Dr. McMillan about that, because it kind of took the wind out of my sails. I write all this up, and then they're playing tonight, so I got to get my angle different. You know what I mean? So I don't look so stupid. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Jake Paul and this whole Mike Tyson thing. That's got me scared, to be honest with you. I don't know why is Mike Tyson, is he broke? I mean, he threw away $100 million. I mean, not the sharpest knife in the drawer to do that from the people he surrounded himself with. But now he's at 58 years old. He's going to go and fight this guy. The guy can punch.
Yeah.
There's no question that Jake Paul, he is a stiff, but he can punch. There's no question. All the boxing people say the man can punch.
I heard Mike Tyson's not a bad puncher either.
Yeah, exactly.
He's 58 years old.
But I think
58-year-old Mike Tyson can still knock somebody out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what's your mind like at 58? Physically, I'm not saying he's not sharp.
Yeah.
I'm saying, what is his mind? I mean, if he gets hit, it's not. I'm sure this is a very common prediction for it. If Jake Paul doesn't get out of the way the first 3 innings, like, Jake Paul's just got to just dance around and not get near him, right? And because if he takes one of those hits, he's out.
Yeah,
Jake Paul's gone.
I mean,
see ya. But if it goes to fourth round or more,
yeah,
I think Paul wins the match.
I think Paul probably wins anyway. I mean, Paul has surrounded himself with a very keen group of people. Every match he's basically taken up until this point has been a elevated publicity stunt.
Correct.
This one, no less. I will say I have been thoroughly impressed with Jake Paul, the work he's put in, the physique he's built to get to the point to where he's at, because I've known of Jake and his brother Logan for a long time, being knucklehead podcasters or YouTubers, I should say, even more so for better part of a decade. And for them, when they kind of said they were getting into this, everybody kind of laughed at them and said that's ridiculous, like what's going on. And they put the work in to be able to build themselves up to this point. But you go back and you watch any of the fights that he's been a part of, the Floyd Mayweather fights and stuff like that, and everything is basically, like I said, an elevated publicity stunt where the guys are in there for the paycheck from the pay-per-view. They're in there to get it.
Yeah.
Nobody's in there really to get beat or to be embarrassed. There was even a point in time in the Mayweather.
You think they're going to carry each other through this thing?
I think so, because they both know the payday that waits for them at the end of the day. Like, regardless of the result, the cash speaks over everything.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what it's been to this point. And I don't think Tyson's necessarily hurting for cash. He's been able to build himself up okay as a celebrity afterwards. He's got a very successful cannabis company that he's been running for a little while now. He's got, obviously, his
so he's
appearances,
right?
Yeah, he's appearances, on television and movies and stuff like that. You go back to The Hangover and everything that way. He's been able to kind of build himself up a little bit of a persona afterwards. And it's funny because, there's a lot of guys who have the past that Tyson has had.
Golden Globe Award.
Who, I guess the out of the ring past that aren't able to shed that, but Tyson has been able to endear himself to people afterwards as kind of this lovable kind of
him into a
100%.
If you're a serious actor, you spent your whole life in this craft. You can't get a Golden Globe. He walks in and gets a Golden Globe.
Yeah.
He walks up on that stage and he's walking off with it, and he can't act. This is an old joke. It's my original joke from the 90s. And you could go to traffic court anywhere in the United States and find a better actor than Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Right?
So the Mike Tyson Mysteries television series on Cartoon Network, that was absolutely hilarious. So there's a bunch of stuff that he's been able to do that, again, has been able to kind of rebuild his image in a way where
goof on his lack of talent.
Yeah, 100%. that this is not like that serious.
He's definitely owned himself. Like, he's not just serious. Like, I'm going to beat you up for making fun of me.
Right.
I mean, he was always even funny. If you go back and listen to any old school Mike Tyson interviews, like there was I remember one of my favorite one was when he was being interviewed and a female reporter asked him a question. He goes, I'm sorry. I don't talk to women unless we're fornicating.
like stuff like that. Like what?
Like in the middle of an interview, I'm like, that's one of the best lines.
With that lisp in his mouth,
Exactly.
We're fornicating,
we're fornicating now.
So yeah. So
Mint, hold on one second. Mint Diggity saying elder abuse.
Elder abuse.
Mint, if grandmom or grandpa could throw a punch that could stop a car, it's not elder abuse. I mean, that's my thing.
Really.
I think Mike Tyson can still.
Yeah,
hit you harder
if you ever can
most
find
people alive right now.
If you can find it, there is a video that someone took. It's legitimate, where some punk is on a bus and he's like 22 years old.
Yeah,
and he thinks he's tough, and he's calling out a 67-year-old man on his bus,
Mhm.
and it's a black-white thing. The kid's black, and the old man, he's 67 years old, and he's taunting him over and over again, and these people that were on there telling him to shut up, to leave the man alone, but they're taping it the whole time. And so the guy, and he's like almost calling him out to fight him for some stupid reason. So the 67-year-old goes, look, I don't want to hurt you. He says, just go sit in your seat. He's telling him, don't, you don't want to do this. Yeah. And he wasn't doing it to egg him on. He was telling him, I could really hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy wouldn't stop. And then he kind of whacks him in the cheek. This guy gets up and just pulverizes him. Doesn't pulverize him. He beats him down into the seat and just wails away at his face. And the bus is going wild, like the Mr. Spock thing where he leans over and he grabs the guy in the shoulder and puts him out and the bus cheers, right? And it went viral. I mean, there were comics that were went back and like that old man strength, they're doing all these things. And it was like, again, to your point, don't mess with the guy if he can really do it. It was in San Francisco, and a radio station found both of them and brought them in to the station to shake hands. They had breakfast together. It was a very nice finish to it, But that guy, still, his face was all swollen from getting his ass beat by a 67-year-old. So
now, the term is sometimes people deserve a good old ASS beat.
But again, don't always judge people by their age.
No.
But this is a guy that was a boxer he's had over 50 fights.
The baddest man on the planet.
But some of the most brutal punchers that were living on this earth have hit him in the face. Right? He's 58 now. So it's not like the 67-year-old guy who just knew how to box.
Yeah.
This is a 58-year-old who has,
who literally had the hardest punch on the planet at one point.
Yeah. So
I mean, to be honest with you, if he connects with a real punch,
a professional who deals with concussions.
Yeah.
Dr. McMillan, an orthopedic surgeon. This is part of in his wheelhouse. Yeah. I want to hear from him.
And here's my
what he has to say about it. Fair enough.
So,
folks, tune in 7:00.
And here's a bit of a follow-up to that. Like, I had to almost guarantee that Jake Paul is not going to be if they were really going at it like a legitimate fight. Like, I'm sure this is a very pull your punches stage type situation. But if they were going at it for real, even with all Jake Paul's fights, if Mike Tyson hits him, it'd be the hardest hit of Jake Paul's life.
Yeah, no question.
Without a doubt.
But he has to do it in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Because no matter how, I don't care if he's 50, how in shape or how hard he trains, he's 58.
Yeah.
And after the 4th, 5th round, it's just nature.
Yeah, I mean,
he's not going to have the same juice he had in the first round. To
be frank, I mean, you just go back to Mike Tyson's, the end of Mike Tyson's, career as a boxer, as a professional, when he was actually fighting real boxers on real pay-per-views. Even then, he kind of lacked the juice to go, a full,
that was the secret
full
to beating
slate.
Him.
You know what I mean?
The 3rd round.
So I don't think that changes much, 20, 30 years later. So that's obviously on the mix there. And again, we'll see how that goes. I just think it's one of those things to where for Mike Tyson, again, the payday is going to be incredible. I don't think that it's going to be something that's going to be, he's going to get really beat in that ring. And so it's like almost complete upside because if Mike Tyson were to go in there and beat Paul, it's going to be like, oh my God,
done.
He's done, right?
He's done.
The only person who has anything is in. And then for Paul, it's like, okay, you beat Mike Tyson. Congratulations, you beat a 60-year-old Mike Tyson. Like, what is there to gain from this going forward?
The paycheck.
except for the paycheck, which again I think is what both of these guys are signing up for, and we'll see how it all works out for them.
All right. Well, the NFL schedule is coming out. We already know that and I think I was going to put it up on the screen.
Mhm.
But I was going to ask you because you're really good with this stuff, and maybe because I'm too lazy. But to find out on websites that Vivid Seats, I heard is one.
Mhm.
Ticketmaster, I'm sure, that are just selling tickets,
Mhm.
not the packages that your friends at.
Sherry's Tickets is one I use a lot. They're good.
But see what the prices are for
Yeah.
this game, and can you do that? Can you find out what the prices
For the
are?
Brazil prices?
Yeah.
Oh, I will look it up. I heard $1,000 was the cheapest to kind of get into the building.
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
Is what I heard. So, but if you
Yeah.
if you could see and the availability of these tickets, is the game sold out yet? I find it hard to believe that it is. But then guys like your friends at Philly Sports Trips bought a big block of tickets, right?
Oh yeah, it's part of the trip package. You get the ticket with it. Yeah.
Right. And they're trustworthy.
Oh yeah, they're legitimate.
Yeah, there's horror stories. People bought Super Bowl tickets and the plane ride, and the plane was correct. You got the plane ride, you got the hotel, but there was no ticket. When you get there, so just go to NFL Experience. You'll have a good time. So yeah. Sorry about the game. You can watch it at the bar. So
you want this leaked?
This is a leaked schedule.
Yes.
We don't know, folks. You're watching this, whether this is legitimate.
So I know the first 3 games have been pretty much all but guaranteed at this point, and along with that Giants game at week 7.
Yeah, and the last 3 weeks, I won't say they haven't been confirmed, but I've seen a lot of different sources putting that out there. Maybe the times could be flexible.
Yeah.
Not the greatest.
Commanders, Cowboys, Giants, the rest of your division.
Yeah.
The last 3 games.
That Ravens game too, I think has been all but confirmed.
Week 13.
Week 13.
Yeah. So
well, let's walk through. Yeah, we'll walk through it for a second. Of course, we know Brazil is the first one with Green Bay. The thing I don't like about this schedule that's not favorable is the early bye. Now I know why they're giving it to them, because they have 2 home games, 2 away games, but technically 1 home game is an away game because it's in Brazil.
Right.
So they have the Monday Night Football against the Falcons.
But they still have 8 games at the link.
Yeah.
This is the odd game.
This is the odd game. Yes.
That is technically that all that means is that their name on the scoreboard on the TV screen will be on the right. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you still have to get a coin flip to see who goes first and all that stuff. So there's really not much of and both these fan bases are rabid. They're going to have tickets, so it's going to be.
Yeah, and I can't find from the Eagles' perspective on who they're going through, but it looks like the Packers have officially partnered up with this company called On Location Experiences.com, official partner there of the NFL, and the way they're doing it is selling literally as packages. So the cheapest package you can buy would be a game day experience only. So this is basically just to get into the game, does not include any stays or anything else, and they're starting at $14.95. So about $1,500 is what that is starting at being sold. Just the ticket for the game day experience. It's an officials packet, Packers ticket package sold. Basically
you don't get airfare or any of that.
Nothing.
Stuff, right?
It literally just says official game ticket, in stadium pregame hospitality. If you want to get a stay, then basically that will start at about $3,500. And then you have the air and land stays for 4 days, which basically start at just shy of $6,000.
So what is the point of this? When Pele came to the United States in the 70s, he was planting the seed.
Yeah.
To play here, and kids, you could go to the game.
Now, I assume
a couple of bucks.
That the people there, the whole thing that's being sold there through Brazil, they probably have their own packages for being sold to locals.
They're not. I'm hearing people calling commercial radio saying it's not. We're just.
If that's the case, then it really is a weird kind of way to kind of go about it. But again, when you look at the NFL and the way that they prioritize, money over everything, considering what Al was basically talking about earlier about saying needing almost $1,000 to basically watch the NFL this year, which when you include, the Amazon Prime, the Netflix games now on Christmas Day, the Peacock games, having obviously cable to be able to watch the games that are on cable or ESPN.
Wait. To make sure you have everything together here, if your home team is always going to be on TV. They're not
yes,
taking those games
except
away.
for when you were there. Like I believe the Chiefs Dolphins game. I think you still had to watch it on Peacock.
That Peacock game, that playoff Peacock game for the Chiefs, that was Peacock only.
Now the prime ones on Thursday night were different.
I purposely didn't watch it. That's why I canceled Peacock.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I mean,
and these
what
Netflix
about the
games
people
will
in
be on
Kansas
Netflix.
City? They couldn't see
They
it?
had to watch it on Peacock.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, because again, the Amazon ones are different because they've worked that out with the league basically on the Thursday night games that the local television markets will still have the package. But I believe those other ones were extra. And this Netflix one, at least the way that it's being presented, seems to me that it is Netflix that is having it. And that means you must have Netflix in order to watch. And so it does not matter if your team's playing or not. It does look like both the games that will be taking place on Christmas will be AFC games, which means the Eagles will not be a part of it, nor any other NFC team.
So is who are playing on Christmas Day?
Do we know that
yet?
Don't have it yet. We just know it's an AFC.
Well, the Chiefs and
So this doesn't have the dates on it. See, this is just this could be.
Well, it says week 10. I can tell you what the dates are based on the weeks, because each week the NFL has a 5-day. For each week, so I can give you the dates on it if you want.
Which date would be Christmas?
Christmas? No.
Which week would be Christmas?
It would have been I think they play on the 22nd that week. That is the Steelers game. I believe it's the Steelers game.
The Steelers game, week 15.
Yeah.
It's already confirmed that it's not going to be on Christmas Day.
If it goes by this, because they're saying it's a
Wednesday.
It's a Sunday.
Oh, sorry.
Sunday game. So I think that's the 22nd. So.
But it looks like the Christmas games will be Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Houston.
Yeah.
So those are set up.
Here's your thing is key points about the Netflix stuff is Netflix will stream NFL games on Christmas Day for the next 3 years. They have a 3-year contract with them.
Wow.
It is streaming platform's first true step into the Netflix streaming into live sports.
You wonder if this will create boycotts.
And remember, they're getting the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight.
Yeah,
that's them, and they made a deal with the wrestling too. That they're trying to get the live because I think they saw that
they can have all that.
No, but
I don't want to watch it anyway.
No, but what I'm thinking
they could put the stage in front of my apartment building, and I'm not going to watch it.
No, but what I'm saying is I think Netflix saw that to stay alive, they have to have more than just movies because that's what everybody else has. Even it's Max now, but it was HBO Max. They have live sports now.
Yeah.
Hulu, we know, has live sports. Always said that was always kind of their thing. Peacock live sports.
It does appear that they will have it in the local markets, so they did work that out.
I didn't know that. There's no way the NFL is ever going to take that away. They'd have a mutiny. It'd be their Frankenstein, at the Tower moment.
But I don't think there's a mystery in that the Chiefs are part of this, like the Chiefs were a part of the Peacock game because they were able to kind of prey on the Swifties and then being able to kind of be that extra revenue market share to basically watch the game. You probably had a lot of people who were signing up to be able to watch it for that. And for Netflix to have the Chiefs as part of this, I feel like is a very deliberate effort in order to kind of boost even more sales and more eyes on it, because that Peacock game had broke a lot of records as far as streaming games and stuff like that goes. And so I could totally see, again, that being the thought process and why they have them as part of it. And I will say, again, the teams they had booked for it, the Steelers might not be very good, but they're still a very marketable, very prestigious franchise playing the Chiefs. And that Ravens-Texans game will probably be a very competitive, maybe AFC championship caliber preview kind of a game with two teams that are really kind of competitive. So I think it's nice.
UFL's not getting Netflix isn't banging on their door.
I don't think so.
No.
Maybe the roast of UFL, but maybe that's about it.
Do you want to do a quick commercial break?
Yeah, we're going to do a break, come back, and we'll go through the schedule again.
All right. So
here on Football Stories Live.
Everyone is different. Some get injured while others wear down. At Premier Orthopedics Associates of Southern New Jersey, they customize a treatment plan to meet your needs. Offering the latest techniques and non-invasive procedures, their fellowship-trained specialists will get you back in action. With locations across South Jersey, they're close to home, providing the premier care you expect and deserve. Call or text 856-690-1616 or visit their website at poasnj.com to schedule an appointment. That website address again is poasnj.com.
Are you concerned about shopping at home for new flooring? Limited choices, high-pressure sales tactics, and hidden fees can make the process overwhelming. With Smart Carpet and Flooring, we make it easy. We bring the whole store to your door. With the largest selection of carpet and flooring products, nobody brings more. Nobody. Our flooring experts provide personalized recommendations without any pressure. Say goodbye to stress and hello to convenience with Smart Carpet and Flooring. Schedule your free estimate today.
Jaguar and Land Rover Willow Grove are your family-owned and operated dealerships serving luxury car drivers as well as aficionados of rugged and well-built luxury and high-performance SUVs. Most Land Rover enthusiasts are interested in outstanding off-road performance specs on these models, almost all of which come with full-time four-wheel drive systems that can tackle tough conditions. Jaguar Willow Grove offers a superior selection of premium Jaguar models with opulent cabins, stylish exteriors, and uncompromising performance capability. Land Rover and Jaguar Willow Grove vehicles we sell feature the Willow Grove Advantage, which includes 24-hour roadside assistance, complimentary scheduled maintenance, and free vehicle hand wash and vacuum, free Pennsylvania state inspection, loaner vehicles, and much more. Come visit Jaguar and Land Rover Willow Grove at our boutique dealer facility at 900 South York Road in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. The phone number is 215-443-5900. You can also visit us online at LandRoverWillowGrove.com and JaguarWillowGrove.com.
Since its founding in 2001, HomeSmart Industries has served homeowners throughout Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey, and Virginia, helping them upgrade their bathrooms to better suit their needs. Customers appreciate that. As a certified Kohler dealer, we're backed by the industry's leading manufacturer. And since we focus exclusively on remodeling the wet areas of the bathroom, meaning tubs and showers, we have more specialized knowledge in companies that provide many other services in addition to remodeling baths. This expertise translates into better design advice and a more precise installation for you. By always putting our customers first, HomeSmart has received numerous forms of recognition within the industry, such as Remodeling Magazine's Big 50 Award and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. But above all else, we take pride in knowing the difference we've made in the lives of the homeowners we serve. For more information on how to get a free quote, call 877-375-0236 or check them out on their website at www.homesmartind.com.
And welcome back here to Football Stories, the radio show, coming to you guys live here on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, over on Edge of Philly Sports now as well.
That's correct.
Can't go wrong with that. My name is Matt Santoleri. We got Al Thompson in the studio over here, editor-in-chief, Football Stories, the magazine, host of the radio program. Big Al Zaffiri producing the show, as always, chiming in here in a co-host role. And also a reminder, you can find us on every podcast platform after the show is over. We got a great rest of the program to get to. Bunch of good news, bunch of awesome stuff. Where are we going to start from here, though, Al?
Well, I wonder, like, if you're, fans hate these streaming services. I hear people like just go crazy. I have to pay for when the Phillies have them on it, or the Eagles, or whatever. The Phillies, you just can't watch them. That home, the team at home, not. You just don't get the Phillies game.
Yeah.
And so
here's one thing. I don't think hate as much as
I don't think you're going out here selling Netflix jackets. To the places where you're blocking out their team.
Yeah.
So this is not something I think that's just going to go away as far as the bitterness towards these streaming services.
Well, they're just out. They're like, it's like anything.
Well, they'll get used to it.
You're going to get used to it. You're going to get over it.
Yeah. I mean, the other news, too, with the streaming services, that's just kind of just, I don't know, funny, ironic, however you want to kind of look at it. You've got Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max that look like they're partnering up to form one big conglomerate. On the opposite side, you've got Peacock, Apple TV, and it was a Peacock, Apple TV, and Amazon Prime that looked like they were starting like their own kind of bundle service. And you're basically getting to the point where you're just paying for cable. And so it's just like, that's, I think, what it kind of becomes, because, there's a lot of people out there, over the last, 10, 15 years that have become quote unquote cord cutters, and have, distanced themselves from cable, maybe saved, a local package or just a very simple package to have their live sports. And now it's basically like they're getting price gouged and priced out of those kind of things. And the other part of it that I will say, just as somebody who works in a restaurant, that is more frustrating about the streaming aspects of things is like now it's up to us to have to buy, Roku streaming sticks or Amazon
That's another
streaming
one.
sticks
Roku's getting on this stuff.
to get different things like that to be able to broadcast these games, because that's really where I think the more annoyance and aspect
Well,
comes
you're
from
going to be
is,
playing the Oklahoma-Nebraska softball game.
yeah, exactly.
all you're
Well,
gonna have.
Instead,
Nothing
yeah.
against that, but
Yeah.
I mean, saying it's like, but go ahead.
I mean, the other thing is, it's like, which one is it on? It's
Right.
streaming app roulette over here. Like,
Yeah.
before, like, all right, is the Phillies on NBC or NBC Sports? Like, that's what we had to worry about. Occasionally,
It's a
Fox.
baseball game, for crying out loud.
So the one thing
know?
I think they should do, I think they should make a rule. Like, the NFL should make a steadfast rule. And listen, the thing is, I'm actually not against the streaming services in this case. Maybe I'm a new age guy. I do enjoy it because sometimes I watch games on my phone. If you go to my studio in my house, I have a big iPad up on a high stand. That's it's like my TV anyway, because I use YouTube TV or whatever.
Yeah.
So I myself have become very accustomed to it, and it's a lot easier to get.
And what about the Paul Farrows who are out in the parking lot with a TV with a?
It's actually easier
antenna?
for them. It's easier for them. Like, think about it. You bring your phone. You hook your phone up to your TV.
Yeah, but he didn't.
you
Yeah,
could-
Paul didn't have a phone. He didn't have anything.
No, but I'm
he
saying,
worked
like,
in a
if you
parking
want to
garage.
watch TV out and about, it's a lot easier now because you hook your phone up to your TV, bing bang boom, or an iPad or whatever, and you have reception. You're okay.
Yeah.
So, and actually, in the scheme of things, if you're one of those, I'm a big tailgater, I want to hang out and do that. That's actually a lot easier than it used to be.
Yeah.
But the one thing they
yeah.
should make a rule. I'm telling you, they should make this rule. I talk about the Peacock, for instance, the annoying Peacock games, or the Apple TV. I know a lot of people are like, I don't even have an Apple device. Why would I have Apple TV? And I get what Apple's trying to do. They want you to use their app so you can see if you like it, buy it for the month, and then, oops, maybe I forgot, and continue to pay for it.
Correct.
It's like a gym membership. It's exactly what it is.
Yes.
Or I find something else on it that I like, and now I'm addicted to it, and I can't get rid of it. What they really should do is they should offer either the NFL app through their app or the app that's streaming it a one-time, one fee of $5, which could be only a couple dollars less than their monthly fee.
But don't they already have that for the NFL ticket?
No. You have to buy an NFL ticket.
Yeah.
Well, how much is the NFL ticket?
It's like $350. Yeah,
For the
and
season.
now
Oh,
it's
wow.
partnered up directly through YouTube TV, right?
And I think if you have YouTube TV, you get like $100 off or something. So
Yeah.
it's like $250 that way.
Oy.
But my point is, they should, like, why wouldn't you? Why would you not do that? Like, if say maybe I don't want to, like, how many times have you did something like, I don't want to buy that, and then you end up buying piece by piece by piece, and along when you're like, I should have just bought the damn subscription, it would cost me a lot less money.
Yeah.
That's my thing. Is like,
Or-
if they just,
Or I'm taking a cue from, and I think Matt and his dad will like this, is because he runs Aaron Pub.
Yeah.
Right. They have TVs there,
Mhm.
and they play sports. Right. Is plan a dinner out that you're going to watch the game.
Yeah.
At some of these places that are just have TV screens everywhere.
No, but that's where the trouble comes from the streaming aspects, is because a lot of these places are not subscribing to those things. Like a lot of those places, like you think about the Aaron Pub specifically, right? Like that's a restaurant that is a family oriented kind of
Yeah, it's
sit
got
down
one TV
restaurant,
screen.
right? It's like
Not a bad
they
example,
have a
but go
couple TV screens. They have more than one, but if it's on cable, we got it. We're not subscribing to extra packages and doing all this other stuff. It's just a very simple package. And there's a lot of people who are in their kind of, processes of like, hey, I've got this core group of friends. We get out of work at 5:00. The Phillies come on at 7. We go to the same restaurant or bar for happy hour, and we go watch the Phils.
Right.
And those days when the games are on Apple TV or Peacock and that screen can't be shown, now my whole entire rhythm is messed up. That's where it comes from, of the anger is like, it's not even just always about like a quote unquote anger about something. It's just an annoyance. It's something that is just like, you are prohibiting me from doing the things that I am used to doing in life, along with the fact of like, a lot of people, including myself, like I have young parents that are a little bit more on the tech savvy side. There's a lot of people who are not that way, constantly getting calls from your dad or your mom being like, what do you mean the game's not on NBC? What do you mean I got to do this? I got to do that. Like, and then that's where it comes from, is just like, hey, can we come up with something that makes sense where at the end of the day, like you said about the NFL and them showing you in local markets, like there should be no reason, absolutely zero reason, that if you pay monthly subscription for service, that you do not get your local sports games. Because the only thing that I will say that has held people to having cable really still versus cord cutting and going to the streaming services is having live sports, is having your local team markets. The fact that that is kind of slowly being kind of picked apart by other companies, that part of it just feels, again, just really rough, especially in a day and age where, I mean, no matter what happens, like as far as like the economy numbers going up or down, every single person that is not, that is still checking their bank account to make sure they have the money available to do the certain things they need to do feels like they are being price gouged for something. And this just kind of feels like it's another thing that adds to that.
No question.
Yeah.
So,
But like I said, they just should offer something where you pay a one-time fee of make life easy.
Like a pay-per-view for those games.
Yeah, like you know what, you're gonna end up paying more than you probably would, not more, but close to what you'd be paying in a month. Like at least you get $5. I mean, because I probably think I wouldn't be like, all right, fine, I'll pay $5. I want to watch the Phillies game. Like I'm not.
And for Peacock, like if Peacock is charging say $7 a month, say they charge you $3 for 24-hour access, you watch the game. What are you going to do with the other hours? You're probably going to tune into one of their TV shows. Probably going to watch something else.
I'm missing.
Exactly. And then you go out and you get the package.
To the Barbie, corporate boardroom, and that's the level of mentality we're dealing with. To say, I guess they'll stay and watch the other stuff.
But again, if that's the case, at least let that be the case, because then at that point, if you're Peacock, well, instead of just profiting the $7 for somebody signing up for the 1 month, you profited actually 10 because you got them on the 24-hour subscription. Then they signed up for the month-long subscription anyway. Like you could still do it to where it makes sense financially for you. It also makes sense to give the people what they want.
Exactly. I think that's kind of what it is, Matt. It's like give people what they want. Stop. It's already it's a little frustrating, especially for like older people. People are used to certain things, but it's also just frustrating for us because wait a minute, it's on Peacock. No, wait a minute, it's on Apple TV. No, wait a minute, it's on NBC Sports. No, wait a minute, like it's frustrating in that, like because it's a like I said, it's a roulette version of how do I watch this game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Mick Diggity chime in on the Mike Tyson thing. He's a friend of the show. He says, I remember people were worried about Tyson's health a couple of years ago. They seen him in a airport in a wheelchair. Too old. It's just crazy. I don't care who or what you are. Yeah. Was he in a wheelchair a few years ago?
Maybe for something. I don't know.
Well, sure. He calls it elder abuse.
So here is your leaked, not.
Yeah, I don't mind you blocking my face out.
Oh,
it's okay. I don't mind.
If you want me to, I'll block my face out.
No, it's okay. You guys are much younger. That's who people came in.
Don't mind the old man voice behind the screen. Yeah, so.
Get off. I hate it when the MC blocks out my face. Ranger off to a rocky start here. 1 out, 2 men on in the
the first
top of the first.
The first one should have been out, but Johan Rojas just didn't catch a ball.
Very catchable ball. It's still a rocky start.
Yeah,
maybe not for Ranger Suarez. Anyway, so the Packers thing I think is just going to be who can manage the trip. I mean, there's a lot of similarities in these teams.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Green Bay Packers are coming off a very great end. I mean, think about it. If it wasn't for Thanksgiving, they didn't turn that around. That was going to be a bad season for them last year.
Yeah.
And they really knocked out the Cowboys. We were all Green Bay Packer fans for a while in that playoffs thing.
Yeah.
But it is, it's going to be interesting. It is a kind of listen, the 2 hardest games to pick winners, 2 hardest weeks to pick winners in the NFL, week 1 and week 2, or week 1 and last week.
Yeah.
So
you almost can't because half the teams aren't playing the guys. But
and injuries through training camp, everything else. I mean, it's just like everything kind of piles up.
You don't know who's got what right yet.
Yeah. I mean, like you look at it and like theoretically, obviously, you get the Packers game technically they call it a home game, but it's not a home game. So you really open up your season if this is the case with 3 out of 4 of your games before the bye week being away games. And so, I think that when you look at a team like this, especially when you go back to last year, you would say, hey, no matter how they start, doesn't really matter. It's how they finish. But because of the way that last year ended, I think it's like imperative that this year they get off to a hot start, that this year they get out of the gates kind of showing, hey, this is what Kellen Moore's offense looks like it's going to be doing. This is what the steady hand and the steady presence of Vic Fangio with the new secondary pieces and stuff they added through the draft, and Devin White and linebacker core, all this other stuff. This is what having somebody who's a competent play caller can mean for your defense. Like that is a big deal. And you look at the schedule, And obviously the Packers game in Brazil, it's a toss-up regardless, but it's also a very good team you're facing. So it's hard to kind of say, hey, that's a win, that's whatever. A lot of this schedule looks very manageable up until week 8.
Yeah.
And again, they did what they were supposed to do, right? We knew that last year the gauntlet was going to be tough, and the gauntlet ended up being tough plus some for them towards the end of the year. But the way this beginning schedule kind of works out, like getting Kirk Cousins and the Falcons, if he's the one who's playing, if he comes back from the Achilles already, or you get Michael Penix, the rookie, starting on Monday Night Football at home at the Link for the opener, you feel good about that. The Saints, still kind of a wishy-washy team. You're not scared of them. You might get a little bit of a lick of revenge there against the Bucs. Obviously you have to go back to Tampa Bay, see how that kind of works out for you.
Yeah.
But again, before the bye week, a big game to kind of get up for. I really like the way that one kind of fits. The Browns, coming out of the bye week, what does Deshaun Watson look like? I mean, he's been the detriment basically to that team's success overall. Giants, and it's not really until you get to the Bengals, and that also still depends on if Joe Burrow's healthy.
By then he's got to have something's going to snap.
Yeah, you actually feel like you've got a game, right? Like other than the Packers game, like you feel like you got a break between week 1 and week 8 of games where you say, hey, like I would not be surprised if going into week 8 after they play, those first 6 games of the season that they're 5-1, something like that you feel really good about that start. And so I like the way this schedule kind of lines up for them. You don't have that real bad gauntlet stretch like you did last year. It's a very favorable schedule. I guess the toughest kind of 2-game stretch you have is the Rams and the Ravens. And they're bookended by games against the Panthers and the Commanders. So you feel really good about the way that even kind of lines up for you on paper. So I like this schedule a lot for the Eagles overall. If this is exactly what it looks like, I think you feel pretty confident that you can go out there, perform to your expectations to begin the season, set the standard for what the season could look like, and then you get to the end part of that schedule, and you still even feel really good about the way it closes, which, again, was the reverse aspect of the way you felt about last year.
Yeah. And I was listening to some people who were pretty good at analyzing the way teams manage their cap. And it's, just what the Cowboys have done to themselves. I mean, what are they going to put out there this year? I mean, seriously, their biggest offseason acquisition was bringing Zeke back.
Basically,
right?
Yeah.
And he can't play.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not gonna say he can't play. He was pretty good for the Patriots last year. The Patriots were just a dumpster fire. I'm not gonna put that on Zeke. Zeke performed pretty admirably. The thing though is like you have to take into account
he's not Zeke from 5 years ago.
You're paying Zeke right now, right? This is really funny. This is hilarious. You brought back Zeke in the offseason when you already have an $8 million cap hit on your team from Zeke from the year that you didn't want him. Like, that on paper is really funny. Like, you technically have over $9 million wrapped up in Zeke, and you're paying him basically veteran minimum salary.
There's the Barbie boardroom at the Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff going on, right?
I've never in my life.
Drumsticks in his hair, and he's going,
yeah.
And it's sparkles.
Yeah.
And
I just again, like I said, I've never in my life have seen a situation like this where you have a guy who you brought back, who you basically said you didn't want at the price that he was paid. You're paying him on your books more than he would get, than he got paid. He's actually getting paid because of the situation you wrapped yourself into. And then even more importantly, no matter what you feel about the guy, no matter if you think he is a top 5 guy, a top 10 guy, whatever you put him in, whatever bucket, this Dak Prescott situation is just looming over the Dallas Cowboys and will be until they do something about it. You're really going to tell me that you're going to let Dak Prescott go into this year without a contract and become an unrestricted free agent next year? That's that's basically how you've lined this up. Because
this is your plan, right?
If this is your plan, you have not evaluated. Again, is Trey Lance, the guy you traded against scraps for to basically pick up, is that your succession plan? Like, do you really think, hey, give it a year or two and we can make something out of this guy who was a highly picked player who kind of fizzled out because of injuries and just not fitting into the Shanahan system? Is that really where we're going to be turning? Because at this point, there are at least 5 or 6 teams that are doing this at Dak Prescott. Kirk Cousins just got $45 million coming off of an Achilles injury from the Atlanta Falcons. You're telling me the Raiders or the Broncos If Bo Nix doesn't work out or something like that, one of these teams like who are like looking at their situation aren't going to throw an absolute bag at Dak Prescott. Like if the Cowboys don't get their heads out of their butts and figure out a way to extend Dak now and save some cap room to maybe make some moves going in after June 1st, some of these veterans kind of get released. This is going to be a very, very long season for the Cowboys, not just on the field, but off the field with Jerry Jones having to field every single question about the Dak Prescott contract from here until something is done about it. And so that right there in itself, again, even more speaks to, again, if the Eagles kind of get off to that hot start and are able to kind of turn things around, getting going, it's even going to put more pressure on the Cowboys. They have a lame duck head coach. Every bit about it is just really rough right now for Dallas.
There was a headline down there saying dead man coaching.
It makes sense.
I mean, it was literally a headline down there. And and then they show his like one of those. They always find they go through the Rolodex of photos they have of him with like some horrible looking. It's like like this on that's the one they put on.
Bill Belichick is not coaching the Patriots, and I am more surprised that Mike McCarthy is still coaching the Cowboys than Bill Belichick is not the Patriots head coach. Right? Like it was like there was a guarantee. Like if that season went the way that it was going to go, there was no way they could bring him back into that locker room and expect him to basically be the guy to right the ship. No matter what happened with the offense, no matter how good it looked towards the end of the season, it didn't matter because the expectations of the Dallas Cowboys, like we've been told that they've been for the last 25, 30 years, has been win a championship. And they did not do that. They fizzled out the same way the Dallas Cowboys always fizzle out, and they still brought that guy back.
Embarrassing, turnover-plagued, just boneheaded, play calling. I mean, every aspect that you can think of went on in that Green Bay game. And kudos to Green Bay for playing well.
100%.
Oh, my God, they owned them.
I mean, Jordan Love is going to get paid, and he's going to be a big piece of everything going forward because of that type of game.
To go back to the opener, you have to hope that maybe Green Bay is smelling themselves a little bit because of that we knocked off the Cowboys, which isn't really that big of a deal when you think of it for the last 20 years.
Not
in the playoffs.
Not in the playoffs.
So they haven't even made a conference final in 2.5 decades. And so are they going to this? A lot of people are starting to compare this Eagles defense to Kansas City's of 2022, where they had all these first and second year players in their secondary because they had to pay their quarterback.
Right.
And so they've got that in Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell. You've got Avonte Maddox coming back. If you're going to use him, at least he's going to be there the opening day, unless something horrible happens during training camp, right?
Yeah.
Barring anything, you're going to have a pretty stout, what do you call it, nickelback coming in there. Reed Blankenship's going to be healthy again, has a nose for the ball, and he had a pretty good game in his season, his rookie year. You've got Gardner Johnson. And Darius Slay is going to be healthy. That's not a bad secondary to throw at. Jordan Love in the opener in Brazil.
No, it's funny because you look at the way this team is built, and it's like, what have we always said, like how he prioritizes, right, is like the trench play, the line play. That's the biggest question mark, I think, almost on this defense outside the draft, right? Like going into the season now, I have more questions about how this defensive line and how this rotation from the edge and all this kind of stuff works than I do about the guys behind them, which I think was their weakest part of the team, last year towards the end of the year. And a big reason why, they kind of fizzled out the way they did was because that back half, the back seven basically didn't kind of hold up their end of the bargain. Whether it be guys just kind of getting long in the tooth or just kind of being banged up and injured. And so, that's where the question comes from that perspective. I think they've made big changes into that back seven, and I just value the steady hand that a Vic Fangio can kind of bring into the situation to get a higher level of play. Like you're just not going to get stuck in a situation like you did last year with, again, basically first-time play caller with Sean Desai or Matt Patricia, a guy who you don't want to be a play caller, kind of, handling your defense.
How does he keep a job, Matt Patricia?
I don't know,
man. Still in the NFL.
Not
a bad guy. Great guy to talk to. I talked to him at the Super Bowls. And
it just gives guys good beard advice, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know what he brings to the table, honestly.
His beard's not that good. It looks like a rat's nest.
He got crushed in the Super Bowl against the Eagles, right? They couldn't stop. They could not stop.
Got a head coaching job. Screwed that royally.
Right.
He couldn't, like I said, against the Eagles in the Super Bowl, he couldn't stop them.
Does he have a job right now?
Sure. Not that I know of.
I was gonna say, I think he's done. I think this was his last chance.
But I think
waiting for Bill to get hired
the
again.
biggest thing is going to be Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and so the I think Jordan Davis, he was the one that was Brian Baldinger ripped apart for being out of shape and just not looking the part, right? And so is he going to come in? Is this new coordinator going to be able to, Fangio, is he going to be able to get him to show up in shape and be the terror he was at in college?
Yeah.
And we saw in his first year, Jalen Carter, that's, on paper, that's a heck of a D tackle, starting two, right?
You just need those guys to take steps. I think
play.
Jalen Carter, you don't really have questions on if he can kind of be good, because we had a stretch that he was really, really good. The thing was he kind of hit that rookie wall that a lot of guys do, where they're finally starting to play more snaps than they ever have a day in their lives. And, they got to figure out how to stay conditioned all the way through. Jordan Davis is the big question mark there. At this point in time, you traded up to get a guy like Jordan Davis. You spent extra draft capital to get that guy in here because you bet on the freak athleticism to be able to turn him into a pass rusher. Now, in his favor, being a pass rusher from a defensive tackle perspective, which is what they brought him in to be, he's been kind of a run stuffer because that's the only thing he can basically do to this point. But what you bet on him basically drafting you don't draft the defensive tackle to be a run stuffer with the 14th overall pick. You just don't. That's not where you put, you don't put those eggs in that basket. You can find that guy in the second, the third round, wherever else. You draft the guy there because you think he gives you pass rush juice. In his credit, guys from the defensive tackle spot typically take until about year 3 before they learn how to do that effectively. You look at a guy in Christian Wilkins who just got paid by the Raiders. You look at a guy like Dexter Lawrence, who in your division with the Giants had basically taken that step over the last couple of years. It basically took until about 2.5, 3 years.
He was grossly out of shape last year.
And you need that to be the case, right? Like, he's a professional athlete. You have to take care of your body. You have to take care of yourself. You have to put that first forward. You have to do that. But the big thing is you have to get that juice out of him being a pass rusher to really kind of get the most out of him. And so that's where you have questions, I guess, from Jordan Davis. More than anything, like you can't have him be just a 2-down run stuffer. Like, you need him to give you juice on third downs. So we'll see if that takes shape. But that's where, again, losing a guy like Fletcher Cox really does kind of hurt. Had a really good season last year, his last season with the Eagles. That's a question mark still.
Milton's going to have to step up.
Milton's going to have to step up. He is, and again, I like his trajectory as well. Like, his arc so far as a guy who, his first introduction to being a Philadelphia Eagle was a boardroom, argument amongst scouts on who they were supposed to take. Was it going to be a Liam McNeil or was it going to be him? And I think he's lived up to that expectation thus far, for sure.
Well, right now we have on the phone Dr. Sean McMillan. Doc.
Al, how we doing?
All right. How are you? And
doing great.
All right, Dr. Sean McMillan is here. He's the Chief of Orthopedics and Director of Orthopedic Sports Medicine for Virtua Health, their Willingboro and Camden campuses. Doc, we have some pointed questions to you. In the lineup tonight is Kyle Schwarber, was suffering from lower back soreness. Bryce Harper, he had missed several games due to actually missed a game because of migraine. According to a number of reports, he's in the lineup today, and he hit a home run tonight. So he's taking all the wind out of my sails here. But and JT Realmuto missed 3 games. What was described as a sore right knee. And we were talking earlier, like, first, if you're going to talk about Kyle Schwarber, if you're on the sideline, I can imagine if you're part of the medical team with the Phillies, and you obviously you worked in the you still work in the Boston Red Sox organization, so you're used to baseball, injuries and situations. So with a guy with a back situation and he's coming back, what are some of the things you're going to be looking at if you're like kind of watching these players are coming back from injuries, especially Schwarber?
Yeah, Schwarber in particular, the way he plays and how hard he swings, that's one of those situations where you want to watch him. He's going to be doing things sort of stay loose and stay limber. Low backs can tighten up pretty quick, actually, even running the bases if he has to, dig from first to second on a double. So those are the things you'll be looking for, just making sure he gets the right treatment, stays loose, and is able to bounce back from this. Harper, like to your point, he kind of, took the energy out of the question with the home run tonight. But, again, head injuries, migraines, all those things. It's about focus, it's about being able to concentrate on the ball. It's being about able to, timing.
Yeah.
So those are things that you look for, and it sounds like he figured it out pretty quick.
Now he has a little bit of predisposition for migraines, from what I hear. He's not bad like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but he has a bit of a predisposition for that. Can a blow to the head trigger a migraine?
100%, Al. I mean, there's when migraines are very finicky. It can be something as innocuous as a scent or a smell that can trigger it. But again, there's some sort of trauma to the head, and he took a ball to the head. Sounds like pretty good. That'll certainly give you one of those situations where you have to pause and deal with the migraine appropriately and move forward. And my guess is, with him dealing with this for not just a recent time but quite some time, the migraines, he's pretty certain how he has to handle it and the medications he needs, et cetera, in the treatment.
Hey Doc, other injuries here. JT Realmuto, knee injury here for the Phillies. Missed a few games there. Came back. It looks like today. It seems like he's gonna be okay for this game. He's doing all right so far. But when you obviously have a guy like at the catcher position, and knees are a big deal, right? When you kind of see this popping up towards the beginning of the season, a sore right knee, is that something that kind of suggests that it's going to be something he might deal with on a season long basis? Is it something that could just kind of go away with a little bit of rest, exercise, and stretching and all that kind of stuff? What are your concerns for that knee, and what are things to kind of look for when you watch him, whether it be at bat, behind the plate, to kind of see how he might be kind of either favoring or using that knee going forward, playing that position?
Yeah, it's certainly a dicey injury to talk about, and to be fair, he hasn't had much in the way of injuries in the past to his knees or anything that I can recall, quite honestly. So the hope is it's some soreness, some tendonitis, something that he can work through. But they might try to spell him a little bit from behind the plate, keep his bat in the lineup at the DH spot. They might certainly look to late inning replacements and stuff if he's not feeling great, and even on the base paths. But what you want to watch is his technique. Is he able to get behind the plate and squat and do what he normally does and frame the pitches like he does so well? Or is he, having to put the leg out to the side, a la Benito Santiago or some of these other catchers that, just didn't sit in the craft position as well? And if he does, what does that do for his rhythm with the pitching staff? What does that do for the calls he gets with the umpires? Those are the things you're looking for, but hopefully this is something that will pass rather quickly.
Hey, Doc, quick question. More on the Phillies home front. The one who's actually been out the longest, Mr. Trey Turner, they put him on about a 6-week timetable, but just a couple weeks after being shut down because of the hamstring injury, they say he's out doing agility drills and taking ground balls. Is this, like, just from a medical standpoint, is that just somebody trying to get a click or a tweet on Twitter, or is this to be expected, or is this actually good news this early on?
I'll take it as good news for sure. I mean, it certainly sounds like he's progressing a lot quicker than they thought or had hoped. But I still think, as we talked about last week, they're going to be real cautious with him. So if he's coming back before the 6-week mark, they're going to make really darn sure that he's doing well, and you might probably get a follow-up MRI, make sure that some of the swelling and some of the fluid is away from the hamstring. Because ultimately, while it's nice to get him back maybe a week to 10 days early, I am the pride. They need him healthy for the stretch run and the rest of the season in the playoffs. So that's where he's most valuable. And hamstrings can be so finicky, where you feel great 1 minute and you round a base, or you dive in the hole awkwardly for a ball, and next thing you know, it re-exacerbated, and now it's 10 to 12 weeks and not just the original 6.
Gotcha.
Now this fight gets closer, July 20th, it's going to be at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Internet celebrity Jake Paul, who also doubles as a professional boxer, has been sanctioned in Texas to fight 58-year-old Mike Tyson. Paul is 27 years old, and he has been, by boxing, aficionados and by professional observers, as a hard puncher. The guy has a professional punch, and he's picked mostly lower tier boxing opponents to forge a 9-1 record, but he can still punch. And Tyson has looked ripped in these videos he's released by his camp, and smashing away at a punching bag, and maybe looked pretty good in some of the sparring sessions he's had. But when you're 58 years old, what is it? What about his mind? I mean, this guy fought over 50 professional fights against the best in the world at the time. Now, this guy's, I guess, by boxing standards, is borderline stiff to mediocre. But he's still 27 years old and can punch. Is this your thoughts? I mean, you're an orthopedic surgeon. Concussions are in your kind of wheelhouse, I would think. Um, what are your thoughts on this? Is this dangerous for Tyson? Some people think they're just going to carry each other and get the paycheck, But what are your thoughts on this?
Well, working on the assumption that it's going to be a real fight. I mean, it's going to be something where, to your point, one good hit, no matter how good Tyson is, and anyone's susceptible. You think back to George Foreman, in the later part of his comeback, when he came back and was around this age and was fighting guys a lot younger than himself. What kind of damage did it do or not do to him? Time will tell. But I think certainly his corner is going to have to be cognizant of a quick hook, quick towel if he's not doing well out there. I think it's in his best interest to get this fight over with as early as he can to protect himself and not let it go long, because no matter how good a shape he's in at 57, 58, ultimately the 27-year-old is going to have a leg up when it comes to those things. And the longer the fight goes, the more fatigued he is, the more vulnerable he is to getting a good hook one way or the other and putting himself in harm's way.
Kind of follow up on that real quick. We were talking about this earlier, and with Mike Tyson. Now I know again he's 58 years old, but one of the hardest hitters in the world at one point. And knowing Jake Paul's, let's say, limited career, like if this was a real fight, like what could the damage do to a guy getting hit by Mike Tyson? Who maybe hasn't taken. I mean, yes, he's taken boxing hits before, but a Mike Tyson hit's a little bit different. Like, is that something to worry about on the other side of things?
Oh, listen, I'm sure. And look, even a Mike Tyson hit at this advanced, part of his career compared to what it was, 10, 15, even 20 years ago, is two different phenomenons. But nevertheless, look, a punch is a punch. If I hit you with a baseball bat or if Mike Tyson hits you with his fist, it's going to hurt either way. So again, same principles apply where both guys are probably not prepared for, what the other one's going to bring to the table the night of. And that's what sort of makes for, compelling drama one way or the other from the viewership. But the truth is, hopefully, it's a fun match. No one gets hurt, and at the end of the day, they both walk away, and they're a lot richer for it.
Hey, Doc, on a sports science aspect, do you think you'd have to use a metal bat, or a wooden bat to kind of match the punch strength of a Mike Tyson punch? I just want to know. You don't got John Bernanke here, so I gotta cue it to you.
I'm going aluminum all the way, buddy.
Fair enough.
Finish them off. One hit. That's it. That's all we need. So. But listen, I appreciate you chiming in. I think I would think that people in your profession, is this a fight simply from that aspect of it? 58-year-old man getting into a boxing ring with a guy who's listed as a professional. The guy's a professional boxer with a hard punch. Is this something a lot of people in your industry are going to be looking at just for the sake of a professional curiosity to see how this turns out?
I think just from a curiosity side, absolutely. I mean, most people in orthopedics are big sports fans.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think everyone wants to see how the human body reacts and responds to, almost a 30-year difference in each fighter and how they do in the ring. So yeah, I mean, I'll be tuning in. Whether I like it or not, I'm going to tune in. I'm going to watch it and hope it's entertaining.
All right. Listen, Doc, thanks for stopping by. Much appreciated. Reminding people that Dr. Sean McMillan is the Chief of Orthopedics and Director of Orthopedic Sports Medicine for the Virtua Health Systems, Willingboro and Camden campuses. Additionally, he's an Assistant Professor of Orthopedic Surgery at Rowan University, School of Osteopathic Medicine, lectures throughout the country, teaching orthopedic and orthoscopic and orthopedic procedures to his peers. And you've also been worked as a doctor in the Boston Red Sox organization. You do a lot of stuff with high schools. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so we're seeing patients in our Burlington and Cherry Hill offices. Best way to be seen is our main number, 856-470-9029.
Dr. McMillan, thanks for being a guest on Football Stories Live.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, take care, Doc.
Can I just ask?
So he doesn't seem really concerned about this fight. I thought he might be.
I think a lot of people aren't as concerned because
they think they're just going to carry each other.
It's a dance more than it is an actual fight.
I remember when wrestling, I was covering high school wrestling, and like the little weights, the 105 pounders, was like watching two bugs go at it,
Yeah.
And then when the heavyweights came up, and the coach said, either it's a war and you're really into watching this, or it's dancing bears and let's go home.
Yep.
So this has a potential of being dancing bears.
Definitely does. I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, like you said, Paul has no intentions of getting hit early with a big Mike Tyson punch.
No.
Mike Tyson probably has no
I'm not
intentions
really
of
gonna go
lasting
with-
more than 3 rounds. So I think it's like just the war of that attrition and kind of seeing who kind of folds first.
He's going to have those kitchen for baking, where the timer goes ding.
Yeah.
He's going to have that on his corner, right?
That's it.
We're done. And I don't care. I'll just throw in the towel. What about? Does it matter if I'm 44-5 or 44-6? Does it
Don't
really
matter,
matter at this
yeah.
point? Your legacy is your legacy, And so that's what some of his peers have said, that it's that they don't want to see him go out being knocked out by a YouTuber.
Of course not.
It's kind of embarrassing.
It is, but then like again, you categorize it and like just like in the terms of it, and it's like would it be would I expect a 50-year-old Usain Bolt to beat a normal person in a YouTuber in a foot race? Yeah, but like that 50-year-old Usain Bolt is still 50 years old compared to the 20-something YouTuber, whoever it might be, right? Like the physiology and the way bodies are built and everything like that, like that still does
I
matter.
could probably
So
dunk on Dr. J right now.
yeah,
Even if I had a trampoline, but the I could still dunk on him because he's not going to get near me. He's going to run the other way.
I would pay to see that.
that would be hilarious.
Let's put it out there.
As long as I have my trampoline.
That's we can queue up whatever charity wants to sponsor this
we had
event.
a family basketball game once, years and years ago, like over 30 years ago, and between another family and our family. And my Uncle Joe was like a lot of my uncles were very had a weird sense of humor, sarcastic, and they did bring he brought his camera and he had us jump off a trampoline and do these gorilla dunks, and he would photograph us like with me with like my elbows at the rims, crushing it through, and mailed them to the other family
to make it look like you guys were. That's actually really funny, honestly.
I'm
about to play the Monstars real quick in a backyard basketball.
She had my sister. She's like 5'6". She's got doing this stuff. With her hand at the rim.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
So anyway,
I think the ultimate trash talking for family versus family. I love it.
It's hilarious.
Your uncle's
it
trolling this other
was a
family.
one basket game.
One question: Can the Phillies play a dry one?
Look, you can't even see the screen. The cameras are all
it's
fogged
windy. It's raining.
Well, it's mid-May, so you would think it'd be dried up by now. But the umpires are earning their money.
They can't play a series without at least one game being a torrential downpour.
Well, you're living in the Northeast. Get used to it.
My point is like this is the difference between the 4 or 5 games that the Braves have played and the Phillies have played.
Well, I'll give you a look, and I'm not going to plug. I work for Basement Waterproofing Specialists, and on weekends I do a lot of shows and stuff. And I can tell you over the last 10 years, like 10 years ago, 1 out of every 10 lead you got or appointment, 1 out of 10 was for outside, right? Like flooded backyards, that kind of thing. Now it's 4 or 5. 10 years later.
Yeah.
That's how fast things are changing.
Yeah.
Guess what? This isn't going away.
No.
If you're in the northeast part of this country, this is not going away.
No, definitely it's not.
It's funny because we've had a lot drier, warmer winters. So maybe that's it.
So the human mentality is just build a dome stadium and we can just ignore what's going on outside, right?
That's definitely there too. And
that's what the Jetsons did, didn't they? They just built domes and then everything would start rising.
Miami
up.
did, right?
Yeah.
Baseball team, right?
Yep.
Florida. So I
mean,
this is not going away.
No,
you're going to see this more and more. You're going to see it
Citizens Bank Park is 20 years old, so maybe it's time for a new one.
Hey,
and it'll be a dome because they don't want to have to deal with with this stuff. But this isn't going away. So unfortunately, don't mean to be.
It is just kind of funny because it feels like I'm watching like a game like back in like 1997 right now on the TV, just like the way like
the picture's not
exactly
grainy,
the picture's all grainy and stuff. So I got my tube TV back out, and here we are.
So anyway, the switching gears a little bit, the NBA playoffs are
hot,
well underway.
Yeah.
And the Celtics going to take care of business tonight.
It feels like they should. I mean, especially with the laundry list of injuries the Cavs are dealing with.
Yeah.
You would expect them to be able to take part of it. It was really funny because the way they announced it, they said, Donovan Mitchell wasn't going to play, and then Shams had retweeted it and basically said, and Karis LeVert and Allen, who hasn't played all series long, is also not going to play. And then just some random dude named Craig Porter, who I have no idea who this guy is, was also like tied up in the announcement. And I just think that's really funny that I feel like the Cavs just completely made up a person just to make it look like their injuries are worse than what they really were. No, I mean, it feels like it. I mean, the whole Ewing theory that, Bill Simmons is kind of patenting there about, missing a star player and the way the team kind of galvanizes around that and how it might come. I feel like that works maybe for one game. It looked like the sum of the parts basically put together a pretty good game plan to kind of, make up for the loss of Donovan Mitchell in game 4 to make it at least a close effort. They kind of were coming down to the wire at least a little bit there with the Celtics, but I feel like that only really does last for one game, especially when a team isn't prepared for that, and you're able to kind of lean on those.
So Mitchell's not playing tonight?
He's not playing tonight. Yeah, so
Wow.
it's basically like Darius Garland and company. Is it what it feels like?
Is that the last time he plays for the Cavaliers?
And that's kind of the talk, right? Is that he could be the last time he plays for the Cavs. He could be heading to sunnier climates very shortly, as it very much so looks like he might be a Miami Heat member come the off season. So we'll see how that kind of rolls out for him.
Well, it's early on. There's 6:11 left to go in the first quarter, and the Celtics lead by 2, 16-14. And you're right. Donovan Mitchell is not there.
Yeah.
He's out.
A lot of Garland, and then Max Strus, who's kind of been a thorn in the Boston Celtics side from his time there with Miami. Pretty heavy on his usage early now too. 3-point range. Then he started off the game getting fouled from 3-point range and hitting all 3 of his free throws. So
but this is sometimes we've seen the Celtics do this, where game is being handed to them,
and they just kind of like fumble it,
and they just hand it back to them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he can do it. Jason Tatum can come out with an 0 for 10 from 3-point land, or 1 for 10, confounding. And I remember one of the national observers for the NBA was saying, we haven't seen a Jason Tatum moment. Like, he went through all the names, like Tyrese Maxey had that game against the Knicks, where that was all he talked about the next day was this crazy game he had. And he went through all the different names in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
They've had their game. They've had that big moment. The Joker, whatever.
Yeah.
There were games where he was silent. Games where you just like last night. I mean, he was outrageous. 40 points, right?
Yeah.
So we haven't had a Jason Tatum where the whole country, NBA fans, are talking about, have we?
I mean, I think that's kind of erroneous, though, on when you look at the way this team is built.
Not bumping on. I'm just saying.
No, I know, but I this is something that I've heard from a lot of different people or on Twitter and stuff like that. The way people get about, Jalen Brunson, another 40-point game for Jalen Brunson, like going off in the playoffs. Look at that team. If Jalen Brunson doesn't score 40 points, that team loses games. You look at Jokic. I mean, Jamal Murray is a very good player, but we're looking at an opportunity here where if the Nuggets go on and win a championship, it would be the first time in NBA history in which a player who was the MVP of that team had won a championship on a team in which he was not surrounded by any all-stars or all-pro players or anybody else. Like, this would be a first for those kinds of things. You look at, the way that you said with guys like Luka or whatever it might be from other teams, and the way they have to step up. Like, if they don't do those things and they don't score like that, then it's bad, right? Now, I would say that losing Kristaps Porzingis has been a little bit of a big loss for the Celtics.
But they've played really well without him.
Right. And you look at it and it's like the fact that Jason Tatum doesn't have to score 40 points, doesn't have to score 50 points. The fact that he feels like he doesn't have to go out there and show people who are, internet, savants that that's what it means to be a star player in this league. And the fact that he's okay filling out the stat sheet, averaging the amount of assists and rebounds and everything else that he does, that I think speaks more to the maturity of Jason Tatum at this point in time in his career than anything. He's still scoring 30 points a game. Like, he's not like just busting out there as far as what he's contributing on the offensive side of the ball. And he's also, again, you look at just the on the average aspects, like the only players who have averaged the amount of points that he's averaging right now, rebounds and assists that he's averaged right now, is like Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, him, like these big wings, Kevin Durant, guys who we put in a category of saying like these are the premier star players.
Is entertainment.
It is.
And we're talking about those big moments. That Tyrese Maxey flurry at the end of that Knicks game was one for the ages.
100% it was.
And I've seen Jason Tatum at a game when Georges Niang was still with the Sixers posterize him on a 3.
Yeah.
I mean, it just looked so awesome. And and Niang's a huge guy.
Yeah.
And he just absolutely went up and torched him on a 3.
Yeah.
So he can look.
He definitely
He
can.
has not done that this year.
He hasn't done it this year, but like I said, like my big thing is like that he hasn't felt like he had to, which I think is again a bigger part of saying like where the Celtics are as a team right now.
Yeah.
The fact that Derek White and Jaylen Brown and all these other guys that are still having their moments and stuff. I think that speaks more to the way this team is built. So we'll see.
It's 23-22.
Yeah, if there's Morris just hit a big 3 there.
You never know. They're going to let the Cavaliers hang around and steal one. Wow, the Phillies are playing like Bad News Bears right now. They just let the Mets score
on an error on a wild pitch or pass ball. I couldn't tell.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's just the bad weather. It's not.
It might be. The ball's slippery. It's raining there. So whatever. But so. Anyway, that's what it was tonight. Later on tonight, you're going to see Dallas at OKC. The OKC number 1 seed is tied with the 5th seed, 2-2, and because
OKC pulled out a good game in Game 4. I mean, the Mavericks had that in their hands.
Yeah.
They had an opportunity to really close the door down. And go up 3-1 in that series and kind of put themselves in a pretty much can't miss situation of closing out that series. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and company really fought their way back in that fourth quarter and made it, again, the 2-2 series it is. And,
it's going to be a great game tonight.
Yeah, me too. I mean, these are two you look at the West, I mean, the way the teams were kind of separated literally by like a game, up or down the standings, like you can only take so much in them being the 1 seed compared to other teams that were right there in the same mix. But like, this is a very even contest. I mean, the way these two teams match up is really tremendous. So really good basketball. You go to the way that the Wolves went up, 2-0 against the Nuggets, and the Nuggets have rattled off 3 games straight with Jokic basically just waking up and deciding, you know what? I guess I am the best player in the league. I might as well show it. It's very.
He looks like this giant, those Japanese monster movies, and he's just in the middle, and everybody's kind of clawing at him.
He's a kaiju, man. That's what he is.
Yeah, and so I think they close it out.
Me
4
too.
in a row.
It feels like it. I mean, and again, they look like a team that is just destined to be right there in the finals again. And again, we'll see if the Celtics can get there. But I think that would be again a tremendous final series is the Nuggets versus the Celtics. I think it'll go 6-7 games. Be a really good rock fight between two teams that are really kind of built for postseason success.
Yeah, I think the Knicks get by Indiana. And but they just don't have the horses.
Yeah,
they're already missing 3 starters.
They remind me
the playoffs.
The Knicks remind me right now of the Celtics teams with Isaiah Thomas, like subs Isaiah Thomas in for Jalen Brunson, of like a guy who like is electrifying to watch, is incredible at what he does. But there's just a ceiling, like there's a cap to that of like what you can get away with if that's your best player. And again, like credit to them, like. You go into rock fight games and you come out as winners, like it feels better than coming out as losers, but also the fact that every single game they play in like is a rock fight. And then also the injuries, like again, speaks a little bit to like that talent, not necessarily distancing itself from the other competition.
McConnell emerging as like this star. I mean, he really looks good. And he was just kind of he was part of the process.
He played much better than Tobias Harris. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
He had 20 points.
Can't argue with it.
He had 20 points that one game, the last game, the same day we played.
And he's the only one that can guard Brunson. His numbers against Brunson are outstanding.
He was getting in DiVincenzo's face, too.
He's always been a pretty good on-ball defender. Like, even with the Sixers. Yeah. Like, and the thing, too, is like, they speak to it a lot. Like, defense, like 75% of defense is effort, right? It's just being.
And that's what he is.
And he's a constant like gnat. He's right there in your face. Yeah. He's not going away anytime soon. And he knows what his role is. Like his role is not to drop, 40 points. Like his role is not. His role is to score 8 to 12 points a game and be a presence on the defensive side of the ball, be a good passer, find open lanes, find guys open for threes. Like he knows what he's supposed to do, and he just does it. Which again, there's something commendable about that.
He's a guy. Coaches love guys like this. So
yeah,
no matter what level you're at,
he's a guy.
So he's a guy.
He's a guy.
He's a guy. So Phillies, Ranger Suarez, third inning. And 2-1 Mets. A lot of these problems they're having are probably because of the weather.
A little bit of the weather. He's not 100% crisp tonight on top of it. I don't know if the weather's throwing him off or he's just.
How do you grip the ball? I mean, if you're a pitcher and you got all these, these nuances you have, and you just physically can't hold a ball like you normally would because they've got to get these games in, and they will literally, unless the Game of Thrones dragon is breathing fire down there, they're going to play the game, right?
That's it.
So anyway, before we go to break, and we'll talk about it maybe when we come back, the WNBA, I thought it was only going to be on ESPN. It was on ESPN2 last night, right?
Yeah.
Was their opener. And it wasn't really much of a fun game to watch.
No,
really
because
I tried watching it through the third quarter, and I was like...
Caitlin Clark had like an exciting aspect of it of like, hey, Caitlin Clark's debut, everything's going to be fun for this. But then she played a lot like you'd expect a rookie playing in their first game.
She was
like
turnover city.
Yeah, 10 turnovers is kind of unacceptable. I think she's even said that.
Those blind bounce passes that she did while she was at Iowa, they ain't happening at this level.
Not only are they not happening, but like again, you have to take into account like you played at Iowa for 4 years with half of those girls. Like they know your nuances of your game plan.
Yeah.
You were just figuring out your new team. So I'm not going to say that she won't be able to get away with some of those, in the near future. I think you look at the odds to win Rookie of the Year. I mean, it's like she's like minus 700 and the next person's plus 800.
Yeah.
Like there's that much of a gap between what they expect her to basically do versus the next closest person. But at the same time, like there's a learning curve regardless.
Yeah, I don't think the WNBA is going to do what the National Cross League did with Bill Bergey's son. Right? There was some guy from Canada on one team that no one ever heard of. I mean, literally never heard of. No, I couldn't even pronounce his name.
Yeah.
And you had Bill Bergey's son playing for the Philadelphia franchise, which had attendance numbers through the roof. Right at the end, it was dead even between these two guys. All right. You're a struggling league. No brainer, right? Who wins Rookie of the Year?
Think so.
Absolutely no brainer. Right?
Yeah.
And they picked the guy from Canada.
Yeah.
It's like, seriously? Like you've never had a game story on the wire services. Not one. You would have been on the wire services everywhere. Bill Bergey's son was Rookie of the Year for the National Cross League.
Yeah.
And they shot themselves in the foot.
You want to hope, obviously.
It would have been no integrity.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, we covered WRDV. We were their radio station. And they used to mock us for it and some of the, like Inquirer and some of these papers.
Yeah. Would mock you for it?
Because saying that was the level of radio that a sport at that level warrants.
Remember, I covered a game for you guys before.
For lacrosse?
Yeah, for the Wings.
When?
Back when we were over at 610.
Well, Philly Sports has an international lacrosse.
This is way back.
Yeah. Oh, even before that. But this was like,
before that.
I guess the resurgence of the league as it kind of like the team folded and it came back and everything else.
This is a pre-fold back.
The Wings lacrosse debuted when the Flyers won the championship.
This is the Spectrum.
Yeah.
So the
Philadelphia Kicks were still a thing, I guess, still at the same time. Yeah.
We had one of the great halftime media games was when WRDB played. We were their radio people too.
Yeah.
We played. Weizsäcker-Hammer handpicked a team to play us, and talk about nobodies.
Yeah.
I mean, I was the legitimate soccer player, right? And and we had our goalie from my team was going to be our goalie. And so, and he did games for us. So he was legitimately with WRDV. And Weizsäcker-Hammer brings Siran, who is currently a running back for the Eagles.
Yeah.
He's on their team. He picks the kicked goalie, all pro the year before. He had just retired. He's their goalie. And he wanted to win this game so bad.
Yeah.
At halftime, right? It's an 8-minute game.
Yeah.
And there was no way he was not going to win this game. Except Siran doesn't know how to play soccer.
Yeah.
He's in best shape of anybody on the court, for sure, but he didn't know how to play soccer at all. I mean, I was like, well, I'm Globetrotters, so and we beat them. It was 2-0 until the last 5 seconds of the game when they all ran over and grabbed our goalie who had the ball, who had caught the ball, and they threw him into the net, and they counted it.
Threw him into the net. That's hilarious.
They put it on the scoreboard.
Yeah, exactly.
And he goes in and he trashes the locker room. He was so upset.
That's so funny.
Bicycle hammer. It's like, come on, man.
It's like just a literal exhibition game. Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
I was at Vicekahema versus Jose Canseco boxing match. Does that count for anything?
Every time that one of those guys touched the ball, the spectrum would roar, and we're going down there and just like playing Harlem Globetrotters with them, and they're like, who are these guys?
That's so funny.
Anyway, we'll take a break. We'll be back with more after this on Football Stories Live.
Everyone is different. Some get injured while others wear down. At Premier Orthopedics Associates of Southern New Jersey, they customize a treatment plan to meet your needs. Offering the latest techniques and non-invasive procedures, their fellowship-trained specialists will get you back in action. With locations across South Jersey, they're close to home, providing the premier care you expect and deserve. Call or text 856-690-1616 or visit their website at poasnj.com to schedule an appointment. That website address again is poasnj.com.
Are you concerned about shopping at home for new flooring? Limited choices, high-pressure sales tactics, and hidden fees can make the process overwhelming. With Smart Carpet and Flooring, we make it easy. We bring the whole store to your door. With the largest selection of carpet and flooring products, nobody brings more. Nobody. Our flooring experts provide personalized recommendations without any pressure. Say goodbye to stress and hello to convenience with Smart Carpet and Flooring. Schedule your free estimate today.
Jaguar and Land Rover Willow Grove are your family-owned and operated dealerships serving luxury car drivers as well as aficionados of rugged and well-built luxury and high-performance SUVs. Most Land Rover enthusiasts are interested in outstanding off-road performance specs on these models, almost all of which come with full-time four-wheel drive systems that can tackle tough conditions. Jaguar Willow Grove offers a superior selection of premium Jaguar models with opulent cabins, stylish exteriors, and uncompromising performance capability. Land Rover and Jaguar Willow Grove vehicles we sell feature the Willow Grove Advantage, which includes 24-hour roadside assistance, complimentary scheduled maintenance, and free vehicle hand wash and vacuum, free Pennsylvania state inspection, loaner vehicles, and much more. Come visit Jaguar and Land Rover Willow Grove at our boutique dealer facility at 900 South York Road in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. The phone number is 215-443-5900. You can also visit us online at LandRoverWillowGrove.com and JaguarWillowGrove.com.
Since its founding in 2001, HomeSmart Industries has served homeowners throughout Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey, and Virginia, helping them upgrade their bathrooms to better suit their needs. Customers appreciate that. As a certified Kohler dealer, we're backed by the industry's leading manufacturer. And since we focus exclusively on remodeling the wet areas of the bathroom, meaning tubs and showers, we have more specialized knowledge and companies that provide many other services in addition to remodeling baths. This expertise translates into better design advice and a more precise installation for you. By always putting our customers first, HomeSmart has received numerous forms of recognition within the industry, such as Remodeling Magazine's Big 50 Award and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. But above all else, we take pride in knowing the difference we've made in the lives of the homeowners we serve. For more information on how to get a free quote, call 877-375-0236 or check them out on their website at www.homesmartind.com.
And welcome back here to Football Stories, the radio show, coming to you guys live here on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on every podcast platform you could possibly think of after the show is over, and live on Edge of Philly Sports. My name is Matt Santoleri. I'm in the studio tonight with Al Thompson, editor-in-chief, Football Stories, the magazine, host here of the radio program. Big Al Zaffiri pulling that double duty over here, co-hosting our show, producing it as always. Got a great rest of the program to close it out with. Where are we going to go from here, though, Al?
Well, we're going to keep talking about this stuff. The WNBA, Caitlin Clark last night, she was 5 of 15, not good. 4 of 11 from 3, which isn't terrible. She tied a rookie record for most threes in a WNBA debut, from what I understand. She did score 20 points, but she had 10 turnovers. And her thing was assists.
Yeah.
That's what always got me, was she would have 13, 14, 15 assists in a game. She'd still score 30 points. Not last night. She had just 2 steals. But 2 steals isn't bad at the pro level. So she was hardly overwhelmed at all. I didn't get that impression. but she was just making mistakes
Mhm.
that you can't make at the highest level of women's basketball. But I'm sure they had a big audience. A little disappointed it was on ESPN too, and they put your Bruins on ESPN.
Yeah.
Who did come
I
back
would
and
have rather
kept the
watched
series
the
alive.
They did.
WNBA.
I would have. Yeah, I put it on over it. You know,
But no, yeah.
But after halftime, the game was out of hand,
Yeah.
and
She had 7 points, I think, at half. Caitlin Clark
Yeah.
did, so she scored more of her points there in the second half, and the game was kind of a little bit more out of hand.
They weren't really probably dogging her the way they were in the
Right.
first half because they knew they had the game in hand. So,
Mhm.
but she'll get better. I mean, there's no way she's going
You
to
hope?
not get better.
You hope?
Yeah, that's one of the best
I love how
defensive teams.
I had a friend actually text me, goes, "Hey, do you want to join a WNBA fantasy draft or fantasy league?" I'm like, "All right, I'm not that much into Caitlin Clark.
Yeah,
I don't have that kind of time, pal."
but the Connecticut
Send them my number.
Sun,
I got it.
The Sun are one of the better teams in the league.
They are.
Best defensive team. So she had her hand. I mean, it was going to be tough for her to do well, and they were on the road.
Yeah.
So and they wanted her. I mean,
Mhm.
they were going to make a point, and rookie, and they made their point. But she did okay. I mean, I think she represented herself.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
and she still talked about it. I mean, they asked her about 10 turnovers, and she said, "Learn from it, move on." That was like her quote, basically,
Yeah.
from it. And I think that's the right attitude to have.
Correct.
Nobody likes to lose, especially somebody who, has not had a lot of time losing, at any level, really, in her recent history. And so, yeah, that's the biggest thing from it. I mean, you have to figure that out. I mean, it's one of those things that really kind of, you talk about, especially when it comes to like the NFL, like these quarterbacks get drafted highly, right? A lot of times they get drafted highly because they came from
Yeah.
programs where they're winning championships or consistently, playing at a high level. Then you get drafted first overall or second overall, and now you're playing for a team that stinks. You got to get used to that bitter feeling of losing a little bit and understanding, like, hey, this is not the end all be all. This might not be the exact same situation I just played in, but it's all a learning situation. It's all an opportunity to kind of move on from there.
The UFL, they had their worst week 7. They had their worst attendance, TV viewership wise.
Mhm.
They're averaging, I believe it's 830. They're claiming it's 834,000 viewers per game. You have to wonder where that's just all the games pile into a big pile, and they come up with dividing the number of games.
Mhm.
So that's network and cable, and they're claiming that through 7 games last year, piling up all the games was 609,000 average.
Yeah.
So it's definitely better. They're claiming it's 37% higher, but it's the league shut down 8 of their teams last year after the season. So is this fool's gold? I don't know. Does this league go on after this year, do you think?
I think so. I think it goes on after this year, but I think they have to obviously continuously build upon whatever they got going on here. I mean, this is the first year post-merger, I guess, between these two leagues. So this was always going to be a little bit of a guinea pig kind of experiment on how this is going to work. We've talked about it before about, hey, you have a team like the Philadelphia Stars that were in, every iteration, of the UFL, basically, USFL, and then you take that away, after, kind of, bringing them back and having some success, at least from people caring about it a bit on the TV. They weren't able to actually go to the games because they didn't have them, locally or whatever it might be. So, I think you still look at, teams like, the St. Louis Battlehawks that are still turning out pretty good, in-person turnouts for their games, along with, them being one of the better marquee franchises doesn't hurt, to kind of keep building upon that. So, I think there's
the people who are running this would love for the NFL to adopt that team. They would think that this is a massive win and for an investment.
Oh, 100%.
Will the other owners go for it?
Yeah.
Do they want this group as their owners? There have been people who have done crazy things like this to get an NFL franchise and been turned away.
And
one in particular 5 times.
Yeah, it feels like to me too, like the way the league is kind of going. I mean, they're very healthy with 32 teams. I would think that if they were going to add a St. Louis team, it's because they're adding 2 teams, not just one.
Yeah.
I think they like the fact that it's balanced. They like the way that the conferences are set up, like that there's not those random ones like they had before where there was 5 teams in one division and 4 teams in another. Like everything is even and kind of set up the way that it should be.
And when you add a team, like Mark Cuban once said, I'm totally against expansion because when you expand, my revenue goes down. That's why they have them pay these fees to get in because that's your VIG, that's your Don money, so to speak. to
franchise
come into the
tag.
league.
It's like your franchise money. Like if you bought a McDonald's, you got to buy the money into the franchise before you open a brick.
Yeah, but there's a couple thousand of these things.
You got to pay off the right guy. You got to pay off the half.
It's diluting the product. Like I agree with you that the NFL may not want this group as owners. I mean, it's their own partner, Fox.
Yeah,
is basically it. So would that be? I don't know if that's the other owners that they. I don't know if Jeffrey Lurie would. Owners like that who are very successful. They're a family business. The Steelers, which are a family, right? I don't know which teams would be an actual corporation. Which team? Are there any NFL teams that are actually just a corporation? I don't think so.
Is Josh Harris's group or the Commanders?
Josh Harris is the owner of the Commanders.
Yeah, but isn't there like a sports group that is like that?
Yeah, he put together a coalition of it, but he is their guy. I mean, Comcast. I mean, he owns the Sixers. There was a time when Comcast owned the Sixers.
Comcast owns the Flyers.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Right? And they own so I don't know, and the Philadelphia market is kind of funny with teams. They have never supported Temple, right? You would think they would by now.
Yeah.
Right? They've never supported the Kicks, or excuse me, the Soul.
Yeah.
I mean, they had, because of Bon Jovi the first 2 years, they had big crowds, and then it really dropped.
Right.
And so, I mean, they were getting, they were claiming 6,000 people. I don't think there was 3 at some of these games.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the Philadelphia Soul are trying to they can't even get a game together.
Yeah.
I mean, I applied for a credential for one of their games. I haven't heard back from anybody.
They said three games were in Trenton. That was it.
But I applied for the next game. I haven't heard a word.
I emailed them too. I heard nothing.
So the thing about Philly loves the Eagles.
Yeah.
They are crazy about the Eagles. Are they crazy about any other football?
I was going to say, well, let me ask this question. Could, like New York does.
If it was, Penn State would be playing a game here almost every year. Mm-hmm. But they're not. Because
Temple plays at the link, they don't really draw.
But they don't draw anybody.
But I'm asking, do you think
if they get 10,000,
like other bigger cities do, could a other NFL team or another MLB team survive in Philly?
I don't think so.
Could Philly survive being split like that?
Yeah, that's
just not that personality of the city.
It's very tribal, right? Like the way that everything kind of is here. Like, they support the teams they support. They, don't necessarily care for the outsider perspective on that end of it. Like they do the way they do things, and that is what it is. And so I think there's usually a boost of excitement, like when the Soul first came along, because it was like, oh, here's like a new thing, a new thing, and they were good, and that also kind of helped out, get some of the juice there. But at the same time,
it's a dynamic owner that they could go. He was at every game. He signed autographs on the side.
Yeah.
He had. I was at those games, and it was a big thing for him to be there, sign autographs and all that. But after a while, he wanted to own an NFL team. He never actually got it together. I think he got. X'd out a few times. He tried to, if you're not even going to let John Bon Jovi on a team, do they really want this group that owns the UFL?
Right.
I don't think so.
Probably tough. Yeah, probably tough on that end. They'd probably
I could see why they would not want a team in Philadelphia. I really do.
Yeah.
And because there had except for the Soul were okay for a couple of years, but other than that, who's really they're football wise? If Temple can't actually ever really catch on here. Why would a pro team?
Yeah.
With players that are being X'd out. I mean, I've said this over and over again. I think the 16-man practice squad is to undermine
the UFL or whatever else.
Anybody else that comes along, no matter who it is.
Right.
Whether I like them or not. So I just think coming into Philly would be tough.
100%. I mean, again, just the hurdle.
The Stars didn't last.
But what made the Stars popular when they were here? Because they're a very popular team. But was it the talent?
The talent probably had something to do with it.
I mean, like that's my point. Is like
they were competing with the NFL on signing players at that time.
They were signing big money. Steve Young.
Yeah.
Reggie. They were signing like all kinds of Herschel Walker.
White,
Reggie White. Mm-hmm. They signed all these superstars. They were legitimate. People knew their stuff coming out of college. These were legitimate first-round draft picks that they're stealing from the NFL. But how long can you get a Ponzi scheme to yourself? They eventually crash and burn.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was they say that when Trump came in and he moved it from the spring to the fall, he destroyed the league.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was a lot of other things that went on. It wasn't just him.
Yeah.
But he made that bold move, and it completely backfired on him.
Right.
I think he still pays for Herschel Walker. It's still paying him. He has a lifetime contract.
That's
so does
hilarious.
Steve Young. I think Steve Young still gets some kind of payments and some trust that was set up when that league came around.
Good
I
for Steve
still
Young.
think they still get it. I think there's a condo that Herschel Walker owns that they gave him when he signed with Trump's team in New York, whatever they were.
Gladiators?
Not sure.
Something like that.
But he was given a condo, and he has never stayed one day in that condo, and it still exists, and he still owns it. Isn't that weird?
That is.
So anyway, so you think it's going to be back in some way?
I think it will be back in some way.
I think they had contingencies to have at least 2 seasons.
Yeah. You have to give them that. And I know
Especially
the way
getting backed by like Fox Sports.
There is zero. I mean, I've watched some of these games, and they have their moments, no question about it. But what is their biggest thing that got them in the news? Was a couple kickers made 64-yard kicks with empty stadium, no pressure. You're not in the NFL, and you can't compare that to a Jake Elliott nailing a 61-yarder in the pouring rain in a pivotal game for the Buffalo Bills to send the game against the Buffalo Bills, send the game into overtime.
You can't compare it, but that
You
kicker's
really-
probably going to get an NFL look because
no
of it.
question, he should get a good
Right.
look.
And at the end of the day, like the way that this whole thing kind of does elevate, or the way that it does end up becoming something, which is going to take a few years, which is why I said like they deserve, I guess, a little bit of time to figure things out, is the pipeline. If more players go to the UFL and then they eventually get, deals and mini camp deals and tryouts to play in the NFL, then more players are going to sign up for it. If more players sign up for it, then people are going to keep watching because the talent level is going to increase. Yeah. And again, at the end of the day, to expect just instant results on something like that, I guess, is just kind of, just foolish. Like, you have to be able to have that kind of a long-term outlook on it, or else you're just not going to get what you get out of it.
When Vince McMahon in 2000 opened the season for the first time in 20 years, 5 games in, pandemic hit, and you just closed the league.
Yeah.
That wasn't exactly resilience there, was it?
It was not, but that was also, let's be real, like very tough. I mean, the fact that major leagues shut down.
He screwed his coaches. They all sued him.
That was different on like how you handle it going outwards. But, the fact that they shut down, I mean, again, every major sports league had shut down at that time in some way, shape, or form. The problem is they didn't have the cash backups to basically continue on to, out of that, which, to their credit, like, not necessarily their fault. Like, who could have predicted that to be the case, right? So I'll give them a little bit of a pass.
Let me ask you guys a quick question then. What makes a Philadelphia guy or a Philadelphia Eagles fan watch a Alabama team play or a Clemson team play?
Because those guys could be on your team.
Okay, so maybe that's the key factor there.
That's why college football is their minor league.
Yeah.
And that's all they think.
And that's why, because there's a chance that there's an NFL prospect. These guys,
they're going to Australia and looking for the next Jordan Mailata. They are.
But my point
is, they got a running back. Kansas City signed a running back from there, right?
My point to this is that it's like a game show, right? Like the what's it called, American Idol, right? This guy or girl at the end of this thing is going to get a contract. There could be a next big time music artist. Or whatever.
They don't want them around at all. They're not going to start enticing them to stay.
I'm not talking about the NFL. I'm just saying, is what the problem what is missing is the fact that there could be a chance that they could be in the NFL.
That was the worst attempt at a double I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
You agree?
No, it's pretty bad.
Nick Cassiano's got to stop stretching these things out, man.
Yeah.
You're killing me, bro. Come on, bro.
Just take the hit and move on.
Yeah, take the hit because they're not very
he just
often.
wanted to get covered with mud to show his kid.
I don't think that's just. You're lumbering. Don't look at. You're not a speedster, dude. Unless this guy really drops the ball. Look at this point, he knew he was screwed. He knew it.
Yeah.
He knew it. Like, this guy made a good play, turn, throw, spun, throw it around, threw it on a dime. Like, he thought this guy wasn't going to be able to throw it around.
You have to, you always say you like to see players be aggressive, but then there's dumb.
Marte made a good play. Like, he turned around, he spun around and threw it. And if that thing had a little bit more air underneath it, or a little less oomph on it, he probably makes that. But again, maybe they want him to be aggressive. I don't know.
Oh, and if Stott hits a triple here,
yes,
it'll look pretty bad.
It'll bite you in the biscuits.
Yeah,
or hit a double.
Yeah,
or whatever. I mean, double. Depends.
Anyway, so so you guys think it's going to be around?
Yeah,
I don't
unless I think what stops them is if Fox says no, we're cutting the cord, guys. It's you're hemorrhaging money. This is not worth it.
I think Johnson is going to be gone one way or the other. He lost $60 million last year.
I think he was bought out. I think he was bought out already, and took a bath in it. Don't get me wrong. And I think they just wanted whatever he got was just to stick around for a little bit, just to see if his name could help.
Hasn't.
Didn't help, and whatever.
Mm-hmm. So this is just going to be a Fox thing, and they'll just try it one more year.
I think it was kind of a Fox thing this year for the most part. Outside
pretty much.
The beginning.
I agree. Because he really wasn't gung ho into this thing. You didn't get the impression that he felt that it was like he did the first year.
That was part of the sale.
He was really involved. He was really at the game.
We're going to take this thing off your hands. You're not going to make a ton of money on it, but we're willing to take it if you're willing to throw a little love our way.
He got $60 million from Fox after paying only $15 million for the league and he did it. What he did was amazing, actually.
He got 16, you said?
He bought the league for $15 million from
McMahon. But you said Fox gave him what?
If Fox gave him $60 million, then he did tremendous. He made up his loss, and he can walk away just clean. And I had some fun for a year, And I got on Sports Center a couple times, So, but anyway, we talked about that, and it's the Eagles are
about to announce. The NFL is about to announce in about 7+ minutes. They will be announcing the official NFL schedule coming up.
So we'll find out if your leak was good. Who did you get that from? Can you say?
Some Twitter. It's all over Twitter. It was all over Twitter. Somebody had out that they were messaging people per a source. I have a graphic I'm putting together that's going to be when it's official. I'll share it out on Football Stories as well, so people can see what the schedule looks like. The EOP schedule. We always do this every year. We got guys who are going to be going live in about a moment or so after we hang up the thing here, and covering, just paying attention to it. And then I'm actually at my show. It goes off about 8:45 to be the first to react to what is official, if it's official or not.
Fair enough.
So what are your, just looking at this now,
like based on the one we have right now? You mean based on this one?
What do you think their record's going to be?
I hate that so much.
Packers, I think, is a W. Falcons, a W. I think it's going to be all the way up to the Bengals game. They're at the Bengals at 4:25. They would be 6-0.
They could beat the Browns, but the Browns have a nasty defense. They're coming off a bye that puts them in a little bit higher.
And they're at home.
They split with the Cowboys. I think they beat the Giants and Washington.
I think Bengals is the first loss. They'll be 6-1. Jags come here.
Browns could be the first loss too. I mean, it's a
could
tough
be.
call. It's a tough call.
I mean, we always find games where you're like, that's a win, and it's probably.
Well, I mean, listen, we sat there and talked about the gauntlet last year, looking at it beforehand, like, oh man, if they can go 2-2 on that, or come out 500 at the end of that, then the end of the season's a cakewalk, and look what happened there.
Yeah.
So it really does matter. But the Steelers, another team that's later in the season, they could be a lot better team if Russell finds himself somehow. The Panthers, I'm not worried about at all.
Justin Fields.
Ravens is a good team. Rams on a Sunday night football game.
Yeah,
it's a good team. I'm saying 11 wins.
Yeah, I think 11 is a good conservative kind of way to look at it.
The Eagles play well,
because I see them splitting with the. They could end up splitting with the Cowboys.
It's so hard to judge this team based off what happened at the end of the last season. It really is. Like I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to expect from the defense. I do have an idea what to expect with the offense, and I think Saquon Barkley makes this team offensively that much better, which makes it interesting to see how it plays out.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this defense is a question mark, and let's see if they can bounce back from it because we talked about the two defensive studs. I think the first half of the season they could be great. What does the second half bring us?
Yeah. And the other part, too, is like you even kind of go to it because, like, looking at it, I was thinking to myself, like, a really good litmus test game might have been like that Ravens game, but knowing that they're obviously getting it late in the season, it's going to be, more towards, again, that gauntlet side of things where it was against, like, those really good teams. But then at the same time, it's, like, hard to even take that for what it's going to mean because you look back at that Miami game when they played Miami early in the season, they held an offense that put up 70 points on the Denver Broncos to 10 points basically offensively, and looked like they threw a mastermind game plan with Sean Desai. And what good did that do Sean Desai and the team going forward, right? Like, you can only still take as much week to week away from, a team until it gets, to the later part of the season when those games really do start to matter more.
Yeah, I think they're going to lose 4 games and they'll all be on the road. They could go.
Think about the first 4 games are all NFC games too.
Yeah,
but again, the 3 of the 4 are much.
I don't think 13-4 is crazy to think. I think it's going to be. I think it'll be somewhere between 11 and 13.
I don't think
wins.
it's going to be crazy. I always factor in. I was going to say 12, but I kind of factor in that one loss that they shouldn't have. They not that they lose to Carolina. I don't think that happens, but like, maybe a Washington game they shouldn't have lost. They lose. Maybe they lose to the Saints. We've seen that happened in 2022. That game they thought they were going to just walk out and win. Maybe it's better having the lesser teams in the beginning for some reason because you don't play down to them. It's like April. Everybody has a chance to win the World Series, so everybody's a good team in the MLB. So we'll find out.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a good to have a weaker schedule at the beginning will be good for the Quinion Mitchells and the Cooper DeJeans.
You have 7 1:00 games too. That's a plus from last year.
Well, I think they complained about it. They had an absurd amount of.
I'm an old man now. Hold on one second. Here we go. I'm going to yell. I'm going to get off my lawn segment. I'm going to scratch it out, put Al Zaffiri in it. We need more 1:00 games. Too many of these late primetime games.
They made the NFL last year.
Cannot sustain that. Sorry. Do not want to sustain that. I like more of these 1:00 games. It's nice to have Sunday night football games. I'm really surprised that if this stays true now.
3 1:00 games in a row, but 2 of them are on the road.
This is where I think something may not be 100% right. I'm really surprised to see a Dallas Eagles game not in Sunday night football.
Yeah.
They have a prime time.
They think the Dallas Cowboys are going to really stink.
You think that's what it is? Okay, fair enough.
They lost. The only guy left that is credible on the offensive line is Zach Martin. He's long in the tooth a little bit there. So he's going to be running for his life. They don't really have a running back room, right? Yeah. So who are they going to be? They have CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott for as long as he's still a Cowboy. That's how it kind of feels, at least.
So, why would they put them on all these premier games? Who are they going to, like they always do the build-up and whatever, who are they going to put up there? Just come see CeeDee Lamb get covered every single play because they have no one else to worry about.
Right.
And so
Parsons obviously on the defensive side of the ball. That's a big one.
Parson and he's
Trayvon Diggs.
Praying that he gets on the wrong plane by accident.
He's undermining his Eagles. Micah Parsons has been undermining the Dallas Cowboys every chance he gets on social media, right?
It's just it's the way it goes nowadays. Like obviously,
he's evaluating the Eagles draft, saying that was a great draft pick. Why couldn't we do something like that?
Yeah,
because he wants to be an Eagle so bad.
I think he does.
I don't think I know. I'm pretty it's written on his face. This man
Penn State.
He got a front row seat to see what it's like being a freshman football player in the state of Pennsylvania.
He should not. He should not play poker. His poker face is horrible.
I've been to a ton of Dallas Cowboys games. Some of the games, it's really a homer game, but some of the games you go there, like it's only been Eagles games, but the it never happens to the Eagles. It happened to the Sixers this year in the playoffs for the first time I've seen them in a long time. But Dallas Cowboys games, especially against the Eagles, sometimes can be like 20% of the stadium is Eagles fans, and you can really hear them. And the Eagles games at home, that never happens. It's Eagles, and he's been here a million times. So there have been players over the years that have complained about that stadium because all the NFC East, like Giants fans, travel, and it holds. He can pack another 20 over. He has a certain amount that he has registered with the NFL. Like I think it's like 88,000 is considered a sellout, but he can put 110,000 people in there with standing room only.
Yeah.
So he just wants to make money, and if 20% of the crowd is for the other team, oh well,
he's fine with it. And
some of the players have said, spoken about it out loud. So sometimes you don't really feel, but that is a loud, big place.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Parsons wasn't paying to get out of there, but he has been not a happy camper, not because of money or contracts or anything, but because of the team.
Yeah,
he's going to be on.
Not his fault. He's out there literally giving it his all every single play. He's one of the only people you can count on defense, especially, again, Trayvon Diggs had a really good interception season. He's still been, again, you can take advantage of some of his aggressiveness, and I'll give him credit. He still has been a pretty sturdy presence out there, but the injuries have obviously piled up for him. That's been a rough one to kind of look at. Leighton Vander Esch, retirement injured on the injury side because of injuries. You look at, Dexter Lawrence, not Dexter Lawrence. What's it called? Lawrence, but defensive end Lawrence. I can't remember his first name off the top of my head now. You look at him, and it's also been a tough thing to kind of look at there. And so, yeah, I mean, it's.
He's not a happy camper.
No, why would you be? You get
he knows the owners.
I said Dexter Lawrence, but what's his name? Oh my God, why am I struggling so bad right now?
And that's unlike you.
No, very much so.
And so the I'm looking it up right now. The
market